Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live question and answer session of Australia Immigration Matters. We are going to wait for a while for everyone to join in, and then we will begin taking your questions and answering your queries. Let's wait for a while. In the meanwhile, can you guys confirm whether you can hear me well? Is the audio and my voice is clear? Please confirm by responding in the chat. Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining. So my name is Umar Sheikh, as you guys know, and on behalf of Australia Immigration Matters, we are doing these live question and answer sessions on monthly basis in order to talk about the latest news and updates with respect to the Australian immigration. And obviously there are changes happening, so we want these live question and answer sessions to be as frequent as possible so that your queries and doubts and different confusions with respect to the upcoming changes could be addressed. So we will keep on doing these live question and answer sessions every month for you guys to have a real time experience of answering or getting answers of your questions. So I think we can begin now. We will be waiting for your questions, and we are excited about today's live question and answer session. And one more important thing for guys who are joining now and who will be joining, that we will be sharing important news about states' preferences based on our analysis for the first half of the year, and what we think that how the states and territories are going to continue in the second half of the year. Also, we are going to give you a little glimpse, a high level glimpse about the possibilities of allocations and possibility of planning levels for the next financial year. So stay tuned till the end of this session. It will be helpful for you. It will also give you answers to your queries, and it will also help you with respect to the latest updates which are upcoming in the Australian immigration sphere. So I think we can start taking questions for now, and we will jump to the conclusion in the last 10 minutes of the session. So let's get started. Um, Okay, so I will be taking up the questions in the sequence of coming. So I hope you guys can keep on continuing sending us the questions. I will be taking all the questions as much I would be able to do. So let's take up the next first question is about the retail pharmacist, the chances of retail pharmacists. So the as I think I have covered the possibility of getting an invite for retail pharmacists and hospital pharmacists and industrial pharmacists a lot of times in our group, Australia Immigration Matters group. But let's talk about this because as far as I have analyzed in the previous financial year, the pharmacists were getting a lot of invites, especially retail and hospital pharmacists. But as the first half of the year concluded in December 2023, the pharmacists are getting less traction with respect to the demand in Australia. In the three cases of pharmacists, I would prioritize them. I would sequence them in a way of getting the possibility of invitation that the retail pharmacists and the hospital pharmacists are at the top two and the industry pharmacists number three. But you have 75 points, so I think 75 points are not enough. To be honest, the competition is very high. The sports are very limited. People are people are actually waiting for higher points on 491. So you need to work on your improving your points for if you want to be selected for retail pharmacist. It's difficult at 75 points, in my opinion. Let's take up the next question, and this is about the electrical, and this is about the comparison of occupation. So So engineer talks is asking that electrical engineer, maintenance planner, industrial engineer, which occupation will be better for invitation on 80 points for 491. So if I compare it from my experience and from my analysis of the invitation round, so electrical engineer has a better chance of invitation, because I have seen electrical engineers getting invited at 80 or 85 points, but that is for 190. But you have 80 points for 491. If you can improve your 491 points to 90, then your chances of getting invitation for electrical engineer will be good. But I wouldn't recommend you to go for maintenance planner this year. I know maintenance planners were invited last year, but this year electrical engineer is better, and number two would be industrial engineer. So let's take up the next question, which is from Sean Ali. Sean, thank you for your question. So the question is that kindly explain and how to apply construction subsidy visa program. So the CSVP, it's also called CSVP, Construction Subsidy Visa Program, is a limited edition program from Western Australia. They have a priority sector of construction and building industry, and they are prioritizing people related to this industry, specifically the civil engineers and all those trade workers related to construction industry. So construction subsidy visa program is a special case in which they actually subsidize and they give some incentive to work in Western Australia. And this is specifically for that list of people which are part of that construction and building industry. So let's suppose if you're a civil engineer and you have been nominated by Western Australia for 190 or 491, and you have got the final invitation after like 2 months, and then you have applied for the visa, and once you have landed there, and if you pursue their CSVP program, then they will be giving you a kind of what you can say like a stipend to work in their civil industry, because they want to attract people for this industry. So what we will do is we will be making a separate video about this construction subsidy visa program, because it's a lengthy topic to cover over here for in the Q&A session. But high level glimpse, I hope you have got the answer. But we will be posting a video about this on our YouTube channel, so stay tuned for that. Next question is from Pradeep, and the question is that for visa lodgements, I don't have bank statements. Can I submit income return? So, Pradeep, since you have already gone through the initial pre-invite and nomination stage and final invite stage, so I hope you have already got your skills assessment. So, the way you got your skills assessment, specifically, I'm talking about the skilled employment assessment, you must have submitted the documents, your employment documents, such as your pay slips or statement of service or reference letters. So use the same documents and same skills assessment outcome letter while applying for the visa application. If you do not have the bank statement, then your statement of service should be mentioning that you were being paid in cash. That's why you don't have the bank statement, but you should submit the pay slips and income tax return and any other secondary proof if you have to cover your payment evidence. So this is important for you that so everyone who don't have the bank statements should be covering their payment evidence, should be making strengthening their payment evidence with supporting documents such as tax returns, or it can be like provident fund statements or superannuation statements, or any other statements or legal official documents in which your payment evidence can be proven. So next, let's take up the next question from Vakas Chauhan, and the question is usually how much time it take to receive the pre-invite after applying UI. So, Vikas, basically what happens is when you submit an expression of interest, it goes directly to the pool of applicants which are already there in the queue. So, let's suppose if you have 85 points or 80 points for your occupation, and there are people waiting at 90 points or 95 points. So, most probably they will be getting the invite first, and then your turn will come. But if you have a very in-demand occupation, then the chances of getting the pre-invite can happen like in 2 weeks time. I have seen people getting invited in like even one day or in a week, but it all depends upon the occupation's demand and the competition with the rest of the applicants and the states. I am talking about the state specific competition. So if you know how to extract skill select EOI dashboard data, then you will be able to see that in the competition where you are standing. So that way you will have a better understanding of getting a possibility that how much time it takes to get a pre-invite after submitting an EY. But obviously, it depends upon many factors. I will be since I have as I have mentioned in the beginning, that we will be covering and we will be sharing a very important information about the state preferences, about the selection criteria of states. It is very important for you, and we will be sharing it at the end of our today's session in the last 10 minutes. So stay tuned till the end of the session so that you guys can understand that how states are behaving. So next question is from Sean Ali. Kindly explain something about the construction subsidy visa program. I think we have covered this. Abhinav is asking, can we still go for diploma in colleges before the legislation is passed? Yeah, Abhinav, the what will happen is that your the chances of getting your student visa approval will be very low in case of such colleges diploma applications. Because right now, since even if the legislation is not there, but they are making the changes and they are already discouraging the cases where you are applying for a diploma while you already have a bachelor or a higher degree. You are not pursuing a higher education, rather you are pursuing a diploma, and you are getting a diploma from a lower level educational institution. It can cause a problem with respect to the grant of the visa. And there have already been the ministerial direction with respect to the priorities of student and student visa guardians, in which they have clearly mentioned that they will be prioritizing certain sectors. And we have already shared this post in our group. And so it's important that you select the right course, right university to pursue your higher education in Australia to get your visa smoothly. Next question is from Mark. He is asking that I have a question. When I apply for my wife's 408 here health declaration, there were question asking whether she gonna study health related something. In that, my agent said no. After grant, she started nursing. Should we notify the department as it says on the form 1022? We don't need to notify if it happens after the grant. Well, yes, if the grant has been, if your visa has been granted, then no need to mention anything now, because that was the question related to the visa application, not related to your living and visa conditions, other visa conditions. So if your visa has already been granted, then no need to change anything. But if you are in the visa application state and your visa is being processed, then you can mention about this change, that your wife is now working in a health related occupation or profession. So you can notify about this to your department. But after the grant, I don't think you need. So it's better to consult with your agent, because your agent might be giving you the right advice. So the next question is from let me take the next question. Okay. So the next question is that for my two children, I am not sure what document I need to upload for the member of family evidence. If we don't have a document called FRC here in Sri Lanka. So All Saints Street, this is your name, from where the question has came. So one point you note that FRC is called Family Registration Certificate, but if you go to your countries, if you have to contact yours, you are in Sri Lanka, so you have to contact your government, the relevant government institute or department where they issue the driver's license or the other national identity documents. They will be guiding you that how to get this specific family composition document. So it's not necessarily be called family registration certificate over there, but there must be a document showing that how your family tree is working from your parents side and also from your kids side. So you have to get the family composition from your official, what I will say is that the department which issue the national identity card. So this document is important for you to have in order to prove that you are having a in order to prove your relationship with your kids and obviously your wife, in addition to the marriage certificate. So let's take up the next question, that is there any hope for allocations to be increased? Well, I think, as I mentioned earlier, that I will be covering this important topic about states' preferences, states' performance, states' behaviors about selecting the candidates, and the possibility of increase in allocations by the Department of Home Affairs for states and for themselves in the last 10 minutes of today's video. But to quick answer that the allocations will not be increasing will not be increased this in this financial year, but we will talk about the next financial year's analysis in at the end of the video. So Abhinav is asking when might be the next invitation round for 190, 189, 491 NSW and WA. So, as per my analysis, as we have done the trend analysis of the invitation rounds, and obviously there was the summer break in between, then I believe that the next invitation rounds will start. NSW has conducted an invitation round already in the month of January. So I believe the next invitation round for NSW will not happen in January. It will be in the next month. Victoria can conduct an invitation round from now until mid of next month, and Western Australia, I believe they will be conducting after or in February or after February, because they have already exhausted much of their allocations quota, and that they have limited very like hundreds available in their quota. And this is as per my opinion. Obviously the exact numbers are not available because they are already showing that how much invitations pre-invites they have issued on their website. So 189 invitation round will happen. So that's one important news for you guys, that 189 invitation round, the next could happen in like next 4 to 6 weeks, and one more will happen before the end of the financial year. This is my analysis, that the two 189 invitation rounds will happen in these 6 months. Let's take up the next question from Mittal. Mittal is asking what are the chances of getting invited for 190 visa for private tutors and teachers. So private tutors and teachers NEC is obviously is part of the teaching occupations set of occupations, but it's not that high priority occupation as the other school teachers. So it cannot be equated to us like early childhood teacher or a secondary school teacher or a primary school teacher. But private tutors and teachers, if you have like 90 points for 190 to 190, then I would be saying that you have got a fair chance. But otherwise, I think it's difficult because it's not what you can say, it's not like a high demand occupation when considering the trend of invitations. So let's take up the next question. Um, okay, let's take up the next question is okay. So next question is from Hamza. I am an offshore applicant, civil engineer with superior English and CCL with 80 points over my own, excluding state. I have 1 year experience which has not been assessed. Any chances for 491? Okay, Hamza Imtiaz, I would suggest you to submit your EOI for Western Australia, NSW, and Victoria, and you can also submit for maybe for Canberra Metrics. You can also submit. You or your profile has the only drawback of having no work experience points, because you have less than you have 1 year experience. So obviously that is not assessed, and that cannot be contributed towards your EOI points. You have 80 points without state. So in short, you will be having like 95 points for 491. So it's a good case. You should be hopeful from Western Australia and NSW, in my opinion. So good luck for that. So let's take up the next question, which is from All Saints Street. If we upload one document in a certain section, do we need to refrain from uploading the same document in a different section? I think if you're asking about the visa application, you can submit different documents under one category as well. So if you think that the payment evidence or is like a general category of documents, and you want to upload like 2 or 3 files underneath, you can do so. But if you have a different document type, then you will be using the other document types. And also, if you find it difficult to identify the right document type for your document for visa application, you can always go for the others option, where you can mention that what type of document is this. And other documents can also be used when you submit the visa application. The other documents section also becomes available for additional documentation upload. So let's take up the next question, that the chances for civil engineering 491 and offshore at 80.74. So I think I have already covered this question from another candidate, where they asked that what are the chances for 491 for civil engineer. So I believe for 491 for civil engineer, mainly because of the competition, because civil engineers are A lot of civil engineers have submitted EOIs. We have seen this in the EOI dashboard data. The civil engineer is like a very highly competitive occupation. So if you have like 95 points for 491, which include like work experience points as well, then you have a chance. So otherwise, I don't think that you have got great chances for 80 points at 491. It can be on borderline chance, but I will be very realistic with you that you have to increase your points up, at least reach up to 90 for 491 for civil engineer. So let's take up the next question, which is from All Saints Street, that do I need to provide all the designation breakdown in the visa application, or it is okay to provide it as ACS assessment? You can provide as per ACS assessment. Follow your skills assessment advice, because it's now all things have been submitted and it's done and you have got your final invite. Now you go for your visa application with as less complication as possible. Keep your information consistent in your skills assessment and your visa application when we are talking about the employment information. And obviously, when you will be submitting your Form 80, you will be giving your whole employment history and education history anyway. So if you can simply follow your ACS assessment designations in your visa application. So let's take up the next question, which is from Mark. Mark is asking that I am waiting as a civil technician with 80 points for 189 and 85 and 95 points for 190 and 491 in both Victoria and Western Australia. You think I could get some opportunity in this year from states or from 189? Civil engineering technologists, I think you are talking about the civil engineering technologists. So if we are talking about the occupation of civil engineering technologists, it's a very good occupation when we are talking about the Western Australia. As I mentioned earlier, that Western Australia is prioritizing this sector, and they are more prioritizing more the technicians and technologists as compared to the main professional engineers. So you have got a great chance for Western Australia 491 at 95 points for sure. I'm not sure about 189, but also you have got a great chance from Western Australia 190. Victoria, I'm not sure, because Western Australia will be a preferred state for you for your profile, Mark. So and let's go to the next question, which is from Puneet, and the question is that what are the chances of 75 plus 5 points for 190 Victoria and talented stream in South Australia, talented stream in RNNEC, and also for 189. RNNEC means you registered nurse. You're asking about the registered nurses NEC occupation. It is a very good occupation. Straight away, I would say that at 80 points for 190 and at 75 points for 189, you have got great chances from Victoria. I'm not sure about the South Australia's talented, highly skilled and talented stream for this occupation. You should be hopeful from Victoria. So let's take up the next question, which is from Sheikh Mezu, and this is the question is that I am a pharmacy technician with 70 points at 491 and competent English. What are my chances? Sheikh Mezu, the chances of getting invitation for 491 at 70 points, I believe for pharmacy technician you have to have more points. This is again, as I mentioned earlier in at the start of the show, that the retail pharmacists and hospital pharmacists and industrial pharmacists are also getting it, are also finding it difficult to get an invite, and pharmacy technician is on the at the same level. So I believe that you should have more than 85 points for 491 to be hopeful. For you should try for a superior level English. With competent English, you are not getting any points from English, and it's a big drawback in your profile. So work on improving your points specifically from English language. Let's take up the next question, which is from Abhinav Bose. Abhinav Bose is asking that is doing diploma primary education a good idea to get PR, or masters of IT MBA is better? Okay, so Abhinav, basically, what I would suggest you, that I'm not sure that what's your original background is. If it is related to IT, I always recommend our clients, our network, our people, that keep following your own on fields education. Keep following the higher, keep continuing the higher education in your own field, rather than switching the field. So if, let's suppose, if you go towards the diploma of primary education is a good diploma. Obviously you will be getting a good traction with primary school teacher, but it will also depend upon your work experience post qualification. So if you complete your diploma of primary education, and you also complete the 45 days supervised teaching practice, and you also go for the IELTS academic, and then you start the work experience, then it will help you after a year or so to get a positive idea, positive response from your EY. But if you are going with your existing masters, existing fields masters, that can also be helpful, but it all depends that what is your current profile. So if your current profile is not working and you have very low points, only then choose for the school teaching or any teaching occupations education. Otherwise, keep trying to improve your existing profile with your own field so that your work experience can be counted. So next question, let's take up the next question from Humair Ibrahim. The question is that what are the chances of supply and distribution manager at 75.4190 or 491? So the chances of supply and distribution manager. So supply and distribution manager, I believe that you should be hopeful only from Victoria, and maximum NSW. This is not a high priority occupation, to be honest. And at 75 points for, if you have 75 points for 190, and like it will be 85 points for 491, I believe that the possibility of getting the invitation would be from 491 from NSW 491, or maybe from 190 Victoria. But this is a very low in demand occupation, to be honest. I know the competition is also low, but the demand should be there. So if you try to improve 10 points, then I would believe that the chances would be better for this occupation from these two states which I mentioned. So let's take up the next question. The next question is from Krishna or Duvil. So Krishna is asking, is the PR for Canberra of any useful compared to other regions? Hearing that jobs there for citizens and for not for PRs. What is your take? So Krishna, the point is that PR is a visa. So once you get the PR, if you are talking about 190 of Canberra or ACT, if you get that and you, for example, you fulfill the commitment for like 2 years in the state, then you are free to go anywhere. So it's, and also you, after you get the PR, you do not need to be working in your nominated occupation. This is not important for you. You just, it's your own career later. So once you have PR, you just have to fulfill the visa conditions. You have to fulfill the state conditions if there are any. So just keep on continuing, keep on finding the jobs over there. It's not like that they will only be giving the jobs to citizens only. The PR people are equally treated when we are talking about employment. Keep this noted that you have to find the job. It's difficult to find the job, but I know many people who are on PR and who got the job in Canberra. So good luck for that. So let's take up the next question. The next question is from Dhaval Valeria, and the question is that I am waiting for 190 Victoria round. As I mentioned earlier, that Victoria might be conducting an invitation round before mid of February. I have already mentioned this question. So let's take up the next question, which is from Dhaval, that will they conduct in January? No, they will be conducting by the mid of February, before mid of February, I believe. It can happen in by the end of January, by the way. Um, so Sean Ali, I have already covered the point of CVSP, that subsidy program of construction workers in Western Australia. That we will be covering this topic as a separate video on our YouTube channel. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys have already subscribed to our YouTube channel, because we are actually doing much effort to create these videos with solid research behind it, by getting all the information and experience in it. So if you guys will be supporting us, it will be helpful for us to keep the momentum going. So let's take up the next question, which is from Abhinav. Can you get invite for web designer at 95 points with experience in NSW 190? Yes, I believe that you can get, because 95 points are like very strong points, and if you have relevant work experience in your nominated occupation, even if it is web designer, you have a great chance. Obviously, the creative the creative occupations such as web designer or graphics designer, these are not in that high demand as compared to the other like ICT or engineering or healthcare and teaching occupations. But web designer at 95 points with working in nominated occupation profile is a good case. So go for it and good luck to get the NSW 190. So let's move towards the next one. The next one is from Humair Ibrahim. So Humair is asking that my skill assessment is 4.5 years, but in same position will be 5 years. In June 24, will I get additional 5 points? So this is important, and this is important to understand for everyone there, that when you submit an expression of interest and you are currently employed with your on your job, you have to keep the end date open in your expression of interest. We have already covered this in our EOI submission video, that you do not need to mention the end date in your EOI if you are already working in the same occupation and on the same job. So in that case, once your experience crosses the next threshold, for example, in your case, it will cross the 5 years threshold, your points will automatically be updated in your EOI, and you will get the notification for that. So let's continue towards the next one, and this is from Ambreen Khan. And the question is that at what points were the telecom network engineers invited last time, and what was the score for the invitation? Ambreen Khan, so the telecom network engineers are not being invited that much in this financial year as compared to telecom engineers. So the telecommunication engineers were invited at 85 points, but telecommunication network engineers, I haven't gone through any invitations until now in this financial year. However, if we talk about the previous financial year, then obviously the locations quota were much, and the telecommunication network engineers were also invited at 80 plus points. But I believe that for this year, if there will be any chance for this occupation, then that will be at 85 plus points because of the competition, and telecommunication engineers, which is like more generic occupation of this field, is getting more attraction. So let's move to the next one, which is from Mohammad Adil. Please guide prospects of 186 and 482. So a quick guidance about this, that once you are employed with an Australian employer on a 482 visa, which is a temporary skills shortage visa, and it is as an employer, it is one of the kinds of employer sponsorship visa. You have to spend 2 years with the same employer on this 482 visa while fulfilling the visa conditions, and then you become eligible for the temporary residence transition stream of employer nomination scheme 182 subclass. Now, 186 subclass is the PR pathway for the people who are currently employed in Australia on a 482 visa or any other employer sponsored visa, which are temporary ones. So, but there is one condition: you will be needing the employer sponsorship again for 186 TRT scheme. So, if you have good terms with your employer, you are working with this employer for 2 years. Now you are eligible to apply for 186 TRT stream, and that will ultimately give you the PR for through 186. And you also need to know that the 186 TRT stream, they have also opened, and they have also opened it to all the occupations there in the list. They haven't previously they were only entertaining the MLTSSL occupations, but now this is open to all the occupation list. So this is a good way towards the PR pathway for the people who are working in Australia on 482. So let's take up the next question, which is from Sayyid Safdar Hussain Shah. That is our experience valid if we are getting our salary in cash? How we get our experience points without bank statements? I think I mentioned this point earlier, and this is important for you guys to understand. And keep tuned and stay tuned until the end of this session. I will be giving a very, very important information about states' behaviors and states' invitation trends and the state's preferences to select a candidate. The last 10 minutes of this live session will be important for you to know that what's going to happen this part of the year and what's going to happen in the next year. The changes are happening, so this is important for you to understand. So for your question about about claiming the work experience without bank statement, I would say that it's still possible. Whenever you don't have a bank statement, always try to submit more payment evidence in addition to the pay slips. So if you have pay slips, if you have like provident fund statement, if you have like superannuation statement, if you have tax return acknowledgement statements, submit all of these, and always get that relevant skilled employment assessment from your assessing authority first in such cases where you don't have the bank statement, because once your assessing authority approves your work experience points, that becomes a solid case itself for nomination and visa approvals. So follow this path if you are getting salary in cash. It's always a weaker case, but if your organization is good, it's an authentic, proven organization, in a way that they have like a good background, and what I can say is that your pay slips are solid and your payment evidences are solid. Only in that case you will be able to get those five extra points for those experience where you don't have the bank statement. So let's move to the next one. This is from Nibin. The Nibin is asking that I got S56 on Form 80, 15 days after lodging visa. However, I already submitted the Form 80 during the application submission itself. What does that mean? In case officer haven't seen my previous Form 80, Nibin, it happens. What happened? I'm not sure that where you have submitted your Form 80 in the whole list of the sections of the visa application, but the standard practice is that whenever you submit a visa, whenever you lodge a visa, right after that, you have to upload your Form 80 in the other documents section. So if the CO or the visa officer is asking you for a Form 80, even if you have already submitted it in any of the sections, it's always it's like an easy answer. You just have to give that Form 80 again in the other document section and call it that Form 80 submitted as per request, and then click on that button which will appear at the end of your document section that I have submitted. You will confirm that you have submitted the documents. So it's a simple solution. Do not need to worry. It happens that they sometimes there are documents in your list, but sometimes they are unable to find, and then they ask you, and then they ask for the candidates or the applicants to provide again. So it's normal behavior, and you do not need to worry about. So let's take up the next one. This is from Kamran. So Kamran Muhammad is asking, said, first of all, is there any difference between NSW SC 491 and NSW RDA SC 491? Moreover, if waiting grant, but left the current job, any impact on grant? Kamran, it's a very important question that I will explain the difference between the two documents. So that in a way that basically what happens is whenever you have so in previous year they introduced this RDA pathway. RDA pathway was specifically the candidates for their regional development areas. Now, this was a special case and they didn't repeat and they didn't continue in this financial year. You need to understand that the difference is that the RDA pathway was a direct nomination pathway. So you had to submit a fee of around 800 Australian dollars to NSW RDA office, the specific office in which your occupation was listed, and they were giving the final invitation right away, straight away, without any pre-invitation to final invitation process. Whereas in the regular 491 pathway, which is also called like pathway 2, in that case, you submit an expression of interest and you get a pre-invite, and then you apply for the nomination, and then you get the final invite. So that's the difference. But RDA pathway of 491 by NSW is not again introduced and is not again, they didn't continue it for this financial year. If you, regarding your next question, um, just a minute. Regarding your next question, okay, apologies for the interruption. If there was some interruption with technically, anyways, I will continue. Regarding your so Kamran, the second half of your question was about that if you already have got the grant and you have left the current job, there is no issue because your points get logged when you get the final invitation to apply for the visa. So once your nomination is approved, you do not need to worry about anything, and you have submitted your application, visa application. Your You can change your job, you can leave your current job. That's not a concern. But the important thing is that your and the employers should know that they might be getting a contact from the visa officer from Australia to verify your employment. So this you need to keep ensured. So let's take up the next question, which is from Ayim, and this is that I am waiting for invitation as electrical engineer technician at 85 points for 189. So electrical engineer technician is a good occupation. What happened is they didn't select anyone except the healthcare and a few teaching occupations in their last 189 invitation round, which happened in December. So keep be hopeful, and if they will be selecting and the other occupations other than the healthcare and teaching, then you have got a great chance because your occupation is good and your points are good. So good luck to receive a 189 invite in the next 189 invitation rounds if they will do a holistic round rather than a selected targeted sector round. So stay tuned for that, and we will be about that in our future videos. So this is so let's continue. Okay, so let's continue to the next question. So the next question is from Vakas. Vakas is asking, thanks for answering the question satisfactorily. Do you have any information that which state is good for applying for chemist? So Vakas, I believe that for a chemist, the right states to select would be NSW, Queensland. I would also encourage you to submit 491 WA and Victoria. So these are the good states to start with for your expression of interest. So let's continue to the next one. The next question is from Mohit that, hi Umar, greetings. This is related to West Australia going to update in next financial year. I am an industrial pharmacist. For now, the occupation is in priority. Any comments on this? As I think Mohit, I mentioned about the pharmacist occupations previously in my at the start of the session that the pharmacists were getting invited, including the industrial pharmacists. But in the recent invitation rounds, I haven't seen much invites for the pharmacist category. Now I want to clear your doubt, and I will also clear this doubt for everyone by the end of this live session, because I will be sharing the state's behavior, state's preferences, and state's future prediction about the as per the new migration strategy and as per their trend analysis in the last 10 minutes of this today's live question and answer session. So stay tuned till the end of the session, and you guys are welcome to invite your friends and family to join this session, because I will be sharing good news, I will be sharing important news rather with you in by the end of this session. So it's not confirmed that they will be removing any occupations from the existing list. What they are going to do is that they are going to simplify their systems. They are planning to introduce new types of visa. For example, skills in demand visa can come, which has a PR pathway, but it's more like the existing employer nomination scheme pathway, where they will be converting the onshore temporary visa holders such as 482 and other substantive visa holders of employer sponsorship to convert them into PR. So the new occupation lists can come, and that can coincide with the existing occupation ST as well. But if we talk about the occupations of your occupation, which is industrial pharmacist, I think it's going to stay even if there are changes happening in the occupations list. So you should be hopeful about that. Your occupation is not bad, but only because of the allocations quota, they are not getting much traction in this financial year. Let's move to the next one, and the next question is from Aim, and this is that 90 points for 190 and 100 points for 491, I guess. NSW Victoria QLD ACTW. What is the likelihood of invite? I think okay. Your occupation is electrical engineering technician. As I already mentioned that your points are very good. Your chances of getting an invitation from NSW Western Australia are good because they are preferring the technicians. So stay hopeful, submit your expression of interest, and I hope your points include the work experience points as well, because these are important, as evident from the recent invitation rounds. So let's move to the next one. This is from Solomon, and the question is, can someone resign his job after getting final invitation? Yes, I already mentioned that you can change your employer, you can change your employment, you can even change your career after receiving the final invitation. The final invitation is the point at which your points get logged, your EOI points get logged, and now you can move to another employer as well. Next question is from Hamza Siddiq, and that I have 491 final invite and yet to apply for visa. I have proficient English with 15 experience points and 30 age points and 10 partner points. What should be my strategy to get 189 and 190 and development programmer? So Hamza, you already have got a final invite for 491, and when we talk about developer programmer, I think because this is again a competitive occupation, same as software engineers. Obviously, so ICT occupations are good occupations to have, but you need to understand that the chances of getting an invite for 189 and 190, good chances for developer programmer will start from 85 or more points. So I think you should continue your 491 visa application rather than waiting for developer programmer, because because of the competition, mainly because of the competition. Your profile is good for sure, but if you have like more than 85 points for 189 or more than 85 points for 190, only then you should take this risk of not pursuing your 491 visa application. Let's move to the next one. The next question is from Love, and this question is that it looks like department has stopped processing 491 applications lodged in March 2023, and now they are working on May June application. No, so it's true that they are jumping to months later than the previous month for the non-priority occupations, for the priority occupation, sorry. So if your occupation is a non-priority one and you submitted your lodged your visa in March 2023 for 491 visa, then some applicants who are related to healthcare or teaching occupations, for sure, as per their prioritization sectors, might be getting in the grant before you, even if they have submitted the application 2 or 3 months later than you. This is totally normal. You just have to keep in your mind that it will take 11 to 12 months for non-priority occupations for all 491 and 190 visa applications. 491 might be getting a little earlier than 190 visa application. This is as per our analysis. This is as per their advice. This is as per their ministerial directions. This is what they are doing, and I think we do not have false hope. You should wait until that 11 or 12 months timeline. And other people are getting the grants earlier only because of their priority occupation. So this is important, that and this we will cover, and as I mentioned earlier, that we will cover this important point about the state's behavior and the preferences in the last 10 minutes of today's live session. So stay tuned till the last 10 minutes. It will be helpful and it will be important for you. So let's move to the next one. And this question is from Shailesh. Shailesh is asking that, hello, sir, what are the chances of civil engineer with 95 points offshore, and which states I am eligible to apply? So, Shailesh, I think I have covered the point of civil engineer occupation, that if you have 95 points from offshore, and I'm not sure for which visa subclass you have got 95 points for, let me assume that you have 95 points for let's suppose 190, then you have got a great chance for invite for civil engineer. But if your points are for 491 for 95, and then you have a bit medium level chances. And the states, I would advise you to go for the Western Australia and NSW. These are the top states for civil engineers and construction and infrastructure sector, and the third one would be Victoria. But obviously, since you are offshore, you are free to submit expression of interest in all the states, and for in which your occupation is eligible, and just follow the EOI limitation which each state has given, that whether you can submit multiple EOIs or not for different subclasses if you are planning to submit for different subclasses. So good luck for that. So we will move to the next one. The next question is from Love, that do you know when they will start processing March applications? I think I covered your point that um, I think you should be hopeful of getting the grant of your 491 visa application in March, not before that. I will not give you false hope, because you should expect the reality. This is happening, that the 12 months is the average processing time of 491 visa applications. Let's take up the next one. This is from Sandra. Sandra is asking that after pre-invite, what documents do you initially upload to show evidence of points claimed? Okay, so it's I think whenever someone submit an expression of interest, all the points claimed, for example, your age, then you have to give your proof of age. Your education points, you have to give your skills assessment approval. You have for your work experience points, again you have to give your skills assessment advice outcome. Then you have your English language points, either 0, 10, or 20. You have to give your English language test scorecard. And ultimately, if your partner is also skilled, and if your partner is also done the English language competent, at least competent English points, then you have to give those two proofs of your partner as well. And obviously, if you have done CCL, and if you have other things completed in your profile, such as if you have done the Australian study requirement or regional study requirement, or you have done masters or PhD, you have to give all this information which you provided, which you have claimed in your expression of interest. It's that simple. And obviously, whenever you get a pre-invite, you get a link to continue your application from on your email. And when you click on that link, it automatically it gives you the guidance that how to pursue that application, because that guidance will help you to submit the right documentation in order to prove your EOI points. So this is how you convert your pre-invite into a final invite through state nomination process. And this is again important, that I will cover in the last 10 minutes of today's live question and answer session, that how different states are approving the nomination application from by to convert a pre-invite to a final invite stage for the candidates. So let's take up the next question. The next question is from Nabil Mirza, and this is about how high any chances of HR managers to be considered. Nabil, to be honest, I have seen recruitment consultants being invited. I haven't seen the human resource managers being invited in this financial year, as far as I remember, and not and maybe human resource advisors are invited, but human resource managers are not. I think these are in low in demand occupations, but in the previous financial years, they did invite human resource occupations, both managers and advisors, because of the bigger allocations quota. But this year, they are prioritizing obviously the top 2 or 3 priority sectors. That's why the human resource managers are not being invited. But if you have like very high points or expression of interest points, then obviously everyone has a chance, even with the low in demand occupation, if the EOI points are like exceptional. So let's move to the next one. The next question is from Ashwin. Ashwin is asking, can I nominate secondary school teacher when I have not been teaching the last 6 years, but I taught for 8 years? I have a 4 years BSc and postgraduate in education. Okay, so well, your last 5 years experience is important. So if you have not been teaching since last 6 years, that could be a problem. But getting positive skills assessment from AITSL for your occupation, which is secondary school teacher, based on your education, based on your qualification in education, which you have mentioned that you have a postgraduate in education, is still possible, because the relevant skilled employment assessment by AITSL is optional. So if you can get the positive skills assessment based on your qualification, and obviously you will be needing 45 days supervised teaching practice certificate from your educational institution, along with IELTS academic 8778 scores, then only you can submit your expression of interest. I'm not sure that whether you will be able to get positive relevant skilled assessment, but it's always good that you get your 8 years experience assessed, which are beyond last 6 years, from AITSL as well, so that you get the certificate to prove that as well. So let's move to the next one, and this is from Sakib Ali, and that the question is that offshore mechanical engineer at experience 10, 20, English, single, NATI 5. Having 90 points for 189, 95 points for 190. Can I expect 118, 119 right in this FY before June 2024? Mechanical engineers, obviously, mechanical engineer is a very good occupation when it comes to the top engineering occupations. But civil engineers and electrical engineers are getting invited far far in more speed than as compared to mechanical engineers. Mechanical engineers have got invited from QLD at 85 points. So in their recent invitation round. So I would strongly advise you, because you have very good points. You have 90 points for 189 and 95 points for 190 Victoria, NSW, and South Australia. You haven't submitted EOI for QLD. You should submit EOI for QLD, and you can get an invite before June 2024. Good luck for that. Let's move to the next one. I hope you guys are getting the right answers, and I hope I will be able to continue covering all the questions, because the questions are coming in very high speed, and I will try my best to complete all. So let's move to the next one. It's from Zohaib. Zohaib is asking for NSW pre-invite. If there is no superannuation for job in Middle East, can we skip this? Further, for salary proof, can we submit first and last month of the job? ACS accepted this earlier. Yes, Sohaib, you can continue for pre-invite as well. Superannuation is optional. If you don't have that, you can submit something else, or you can. And if that is mandatory submission for you, then you have to submit a cover letter that it's not applicable in your case, because the in the region or in the country you are working is the superannuation is not deducted. But otherwise, you should submit other proof of evidence, other employment evidence in for your job in Middle East. And similarly, for the pay slips part, I would strongly suggest you that even if you have used your first and last month of the job for the ACS skill assessment, but still, I would suggest you that add a few more pay slips for your pre-invite. Like for your whole tenure, I always suggest everyone to submit the start of 2 or 3 months and the end of 2, 3 or 3 months and the middle, so that can substantiate your payment evidence. So this is just for precaution. Obviously, it's not a guideline, an official guideline. The next one is from Sakib Ali, that I think I have already covered. Sakib, your offshore mechanical engineer points. The next one is from Nabina Shaheen, that I submitted an UI in November 23 for the 491 visa developer programmer. My points are 80, but I haven't received an invitation yet. Is there any chance for my category to receive an invitation? So Nabina, I think I have already covered the analysis of occupation developer programmer. That again, it's not an easy occupation to get an invite. You need to have high points. So 80 points, I believe, are not enough for 491 to get an invitation for for developer programmer, because developer programmer and software engineers are very like highly competitive occupation. Software engineer is very highly competitive, but developer programmer is also on like number 2 of the ACS ICT occupations. Try to improve your points by 10, then you have got a great chance. Otherwise, it's going to take time. Next one, the next question is from Raghu. Raghu is asking, I have 85 points for 190 and 95 points for 491. No work experience could be claimed. What are the chances of external auditor and finance, and which one to consider for 190 and 491 Victoria? Okay, so you got 95 points for 491. Okay, so for Victoria, I would not for Victoria State, I would not recommend you to go for 491, because they have a very specific target sector for 491. They are only targeting healthcare, education, and social services sector for their 491 visa subclass, whereas you got 85 points for 190. So I would suggest you to submit your ROI for Victoria at 85 points for your external auditor, and finance occupation. So if you have two occupations, two positive skill assessment occupations, external auditor and finance, then I think that you can analyze that which one you want to submit. But both are like at equal level. Finance manager is a better occupation in my opinion, for Victoria 190 at 85 points. So let's move to the next one. And guys, as I mentioned earlier, it's important that we that is to stay tuned till the end, because I will be sharing important news about the states' preferences and guidelines, and how they are doing all the selections, because we have seen the strange behavior by states in selecting expression of interest with a higher and lower point. So stay tuned, and we will be covering in the last 10 minutes of today's live question and answer session. So let's take up the next question, which is from Muhammad Hadi. It is that I am waiting for NSW final nomination as CM. Um, does DHA tally documents with the state CEOs or VETSS? I am planning to use different reference letter for final visa application. Okay, so Hadi, I will not suggest you to change your documentation once you have got your final invitation to apply for the visa application. It's better that you use the same documentation which you are using for the state nomination process, because it otherwise it can create an ambiguity, and the visa or case officer can ask you for the discrepancy if there is any in your documentation, especially for your reference letter, which is like very very important document for your employment claim. So I would suggest you to keep your documentation consistent throughout the nomination and final invitation, visa application. They do not tally, but obviously they can. But if there is a major reason to change your reference letter, only in that case you can change. Otherwise, keep your documentation consistent. So let's take up the next one. Is from it's from All Saints Street, that do we need to complete medical and biometrics during the 60-day time frame? No. So medical and biometrics are done after the visa lodgement, after that 60-day time frame. So the 60-day time frame is only to lodge your visa application. So once your visa application is lodged, then you have like what or the best practice is that you should complete your biometrics in the first 2 weeks, and you should complete your medical examination through generation of HAP ID in the first 4 weeks of visa lodgement date. So let's take up the next question, and the next question is from RJ Senizl. The chances for architectural draftsperson in Victoria and Western Australia at 80 plus 5 points. So, architectural draftsperson is a very good occupation when it comes to Western Australia. I'm not sure about Victoria, but you should also. I think you are an onshore applicant in that case, so you should be hopeful from Western Australia at 80 plus 5 points. I'm not sure about Victoria. If you have submitted for Victoria 190, there are chances for architectural draftsperson, but you have better chances from Western Australia. So good luck for that. Let's take up the next question, which is from Yasir Munir. So Yasir Munir is asking, if someone got FIR in minor crime and then acquitted from the FIR, what are the chances of getting visa? I think if your FIR, if you are getting your police clearance certificate or penal clearance certificate, PCC, and your case history is clear, and now your PCC covers that you were acquitted from that FIR crime, minor crime, then there wouldn't be any issue. But if there is any active case in your PCC, then it can be an issue, because PCC is the primary document to prove your character history. So it all depends upon that document regarding your visa application processing and regarding getting the final grant, because this is an important thing to understand. So let's take up the next one, which is from Izhar Hussain, and the question is that are Pakistani diplomas verified by VETSS and considered appreciated in the construction industry? Institute of PIMS, Islamabad. Um, Pakistani diplomas, I am not sure that which diploma category you are asking about, but obviously every type of education which is uh, tertiary education is considered by VETSS for sure. So if you fulfill the AQF advanced diploma or AQF diploma level educational standard of Australia, then your obviously your Pakistani diploma can also be considered by VETSS for skills assessment purpose. I'm not sure that what's the credit hours of that diploma, whether you have completed your diploma full time, and whether you have completed your diploma in the right number of weeks. So those things matter. So you need to apply for your skills assessment, and you will see that you will be having an option of selecting the diploma type of category in the education section. So obviously diplomas are selected, but it needs to have fulfill the conditions of AQF, means Australian diploma standards. So let's take up the next question. This is from Jatin Goyal. Jatin Goyal is asking, sir, I have lodged 491 visa on 3rd April 2023, offshore facilities manager occupation. How much time this occupation will take? So Jatin, as I mentioned earlier, that 491 visa applicants of non-priority occupations should expect their visas granted in 12 months, not before that, because that's how the Department of Home Affairs is operating right now. That's their speed, but we will see an improvement. We will see an improvement in their visa processing times in coming months, specifically with respect to 491 or other regional visas. Let's take up the next one, and this is from Muhammad Hadi. That for one of my employer, I don't have the contract, and my employer did not mention salary on reference letter. Though I have salary slips and tax returns and bank statement, it is a problem. Um, Not a big problem, but it's always a good practice to submit the reference letter mentioning the monthly salary or any time frame salary, because salary is one of the most important components through which they judge your full-time employment and they confirm your full-time paid employment. So but it's not a big problem if you can fulfill the employment evidence, full-time paid employment evidence through other means. For example, if you are submitting your tax return documents and if you are submitting your pay slips and bank statements, hopefully it will not create a problem, because your bank statement, pay slips will be mentioning your employer's name, and your tax return will be mentioning that you were getting paid in that time period. And better to include the name of the employer in your tax return documentation as well, if you can. So that's how you have to link things up in order to cover up this discrepancy of reference letter where you haven't got the salary mentioned on the reference letter. So let's take up the next one. Yeah, Hadi, I think I have covered your point that it's not going to be a big concern. So continue with your existing application. Since you already have got skills assessment and you are now applying for the final visa, so hopefully it will not be a problem, because your bank statement, tax return, and salary slips are complete, and the employer's name is mentioned over there. Let's take up the next from Abul Barakat, and the question is that, bro, thank you for enlightening us about all these precious informations. I am a mechanical engineer and have 70 points for 189 without my spouse education employment assessment. Abul Barakat, basically, if you are asking about the chances, then I will say that at 70 points for 189 for mechanical engineer is like, chances are not much, to be honest. You should have 80 points for 189, 85 points for 190 to have better chances of invite for mechanical engineers. And you should try to get your partner skill assessment as well. This is very important, and as I highlighted earlier, that I will be covering this specific topic as well about the partner's occupation, about the partner's skill assessment in the last 10 minutes of today's live question and answer session, where I will be sharing this important analysis with you about the states. So let's take up the next from Sean Ali. I have assessed my degree as a civil engineer from EA. Should I go for assessed as civil engineering technician? Also, I plan to go for either construction project management or civil technician also. Um, well, it's up to you. You can go for civil engineering technician. That's not a harm. You can submit a different, separate expression of interest as well if you have got another skill assessed. For example, if you have a civil engineer assessed and you have a skill civil engineering technician assessed, you can submit the expression of interest for both occupations. For Western Australia and NSW, they allow different EOIs, but for Victoria, you will need to select one. Similarly, for South Australia and QLD, you need to select one. So this is how you need to approach this. Construction project management again is a very good field if you want to pursue that in later. But I can give you opinion to go ahead with civil engineering technician as well, because Western Australia is prioritizing more the civil engineering technician as compared to civil engineers, as far as I have understood from their invitation rounds. With 3 invitation rounds they have done so far in this financial year. Obviously, civil engineers were also invited. That you can see in the Western Australia's stats, but civil engineering technicians were also being invited at lower points. So this can be a good approach. So you can go ahead. It's up to you. Let's take up the next one from Karthik, and the question is that what are the chances of getting an invite for ICT support engineer with 90 points for 491 and 80 points for 190? Again, the ICT support engineer is, I believe that it's when we talk about the ICT occupations, the top occupations are like software engineers, developer programmers, ICT business analyst, ICT security specialist, and maybe we can also include like ICT project management. But when we talk about ICT support engineer 263212, the chances of getting an invite would be fair at 90 points for 491. I'm not sure about 80 points for 190, but 90 points for 491, you have got good chances, specifically when we talk about the states which are prioritizing the ICT sector, for example, Victoria and NSW. So good luck for that. Let's take up the next one. It is from Bilal. What documents do they ask in pre-invite or invite? What should one do if he is living somewhere else than the address in his documents? So Bilal, as I think I mentioned that in the pre-invite you have to submit the evidence of your points claimed in your EOI. So those are like technical documents of starting from your age until your partner's skills assessment, if you are also claiming that. When we talk about the final invite, during the nomination application, after the nomination application, when we talk about the final invite, you have to submit the visa application. It's a more comprehensive documentation. Obviously, you are applying for your visa, so you have to submit all the identification documents, all the educational documents, and all the employment documents, and the history of you, and some of these for your family or secondary applicants. The important thing about that, when you are asking that, when what should one do if he is living somewhere else than the address in his documents? Well, it doesn't matter much. Um, During the nomination stage, the state will ask you to prove your residency. In that case, you will have to prove your current residency or current address. For that, you can submit like proof of age card, utility bills, any kind of utility bills, for example, power or energy bills, or you can also submit your mobile phone or internet connection bills. Similarly, you can submit your last 6 months bank statement, which can serve the purpose of proving your address. So in that case, you will have to prove your current address. But when we talk about the offshore applicants, it doesn't matter much if you like, if your main document, if for example, if you have a national identity card in which your address is from another place and you are living at another place, it doesn't matter much, because they just want to see that whether you have been living offshore from past few months. But when we talk about the onshore applicants, the proof of address becomes more important. So in that case, you need to have all the things as per the demand of state. They give options. Obviously, you can submit like one or two of the things or documents to prove your residency based on your past 3 or 4 months. So let's take up the next one. Is from Isel Jakarta is asking, while on student visa, we are allowed to apply for 91 190 or global talent visa if we comply the requirements? Yes, Isel. So basically, when you are on student visa, obviously you are not working full time. You do not have a work currently working in the nominated occupation. You are eligible to submit expression of interest in the state in which you are currently studying, and you are eligible to submit an expression of interest for these 189 190 and 1491 for 189 as well, and for global talent visa as well. You can pursue the global talent visa, global talent program as well. But you need to understand that some of the states, for example, South Australia, wants the applicants who are submitting expression of interest to be currently working in their nominated occupation, and they see that whether you have been working in the last 6 months and whether you have been living in the last 12 months in their state or not. So that's there are a few states which requires you to currently working in your nominated occupation with said and unsaid rules for selection for 190 and 491. But obviously, as a student visa, you are eligible to apply for PR pathways. So let's take up the next one. The next question is from RJ Senizel. RJ Senizel. So RJ Senizel is asking chances for architectural draftsperson in Victoria and Western Australia with 85 points with superior English. So I think I already covered the architectural draftsperson is a very, very good occupation. when it comes to Western Australia. I'm not sure about Victoria, but Western Australia with 80 plus 5 points for 190, with superior English, you got a great chance. Victoria, you also got a great chance, but I believe Western Australia has a better chance because as per their invitation round strength. But good luck for receiving the invitation from either of the states. Let's take up the next from home, Hamza Siddiq. Hamza is asking if we are on 491 in NSW, if company is in Sydney, then can we work from home for that company while living regional? Um, I believe no, it's a little complicated, but obviously it all depends upon your fulfilling your visa conditions. So you can work from home for a company or for an employer who is registered in Sydney, but the documentation should prove that you are assigned or you are in your through your contract you are assigned to a work which is completed on full time basis on whole fortnight basis from a regional area. You do not need to travel to Sydney or you do not need to work from Sydney office. This needs to be documented because whenever NSW will ask you for your location to verify your details and your employment documentation and to prove that you are working in living and working in a regional area of NSW, you will have to provide that documentation. So it's it's a borderline, and I would suggest you to keep that documentation ready for that time that when NSW government will ask you to prove your current location. So this is a tricky case, but obviously it is allowed that you work from home from your regional area and you do not travel to Sydney for work or to live there. So in that case, it's totally fine. Otherwise, if you have got if you do not have the documentation, then it can be risky for your 491 visa conditions. Let's take up the next one. It is from Ziaullah. Ziaullah is asking that how can a nurse working in a public hospital in Pakistan for 3 years come to Australia? So thanking in advance. Ziaullah, so nurses are in high demand for sure. We have seen the registered nurses getting invited at even 65 or 70 points in the first 6 months of this financial year. So the process is that you first need to get your skills assessment done. You need to get your English language test done. And for your case, because you are a healthcare occupation, then you have a specific English language to be completed with specific scores. Go for that, and once these two things are ready, then you will submit your expression of interest. And once you submit an expression of interest, you can possibly be getting a 189 invitation round, which is the final invitation, and you might be getting the pre-invite from any of the states who conduct the rounds on frequent basis. So this is how high level that the process runs. But obviously, for to know the detailed level, I would suggest you to watch our beginner's guide video, which is available in our YouTube library, to understand that how the system works, how the points test system works, and how the different visa categories are interlinked to each other, and what is the meaning of the visa categories. It's important for you to understand the basics first, and then you can ask for a specific question with respect to your case in our group. So let's take up the next one. This is from Khanak Sharma. Any chances for graphic designer at 75 points for SC190? So graphic designer is a very good occupation, and it's to be honest, I have seen graphics designers invited from NSW, from Tasmania, from Victoria, but 75 points are not enough, to be honest. So you need to have 10 more points for a good chances of invite for a graphics designer for 190 from the states which I have just mentioned. So next question is for regarding the IT business analyst. IT business analyst is a good occupation, and you have 90 points. So I believe you have got a great chance. ICT business analyst is like the top 5 occupations of ICT sector. So getting invited with 90 points for ICT business analyst is a good prospect if you are talking about 90 points for 190. So good luck for that. So let's take up the next one. The next question is from Bilal. Which visa and states require proof of funds and aging is required or not? I'm not sure about the aging. Maybe if you are asking about the bank statement aging. Okay, so there are 3 states which require for the proof of funds as part of their nomination application. ACT asks for the proof of funds. Queensland asks for the proof of funds, and Northern Territory (NT) asks for the proof of funds. These three states ask for the proof of fund through bank statement, and even Queensland have specifically given the guidelines and the required values the for the cash part and for the asset part on their website. Now, you cannot submit a bank statement which is like a fresh bank account, and obviously in which the transaction is just made. You have to have some history of bank statement so that states can verify that you are capable enough, you are able enough to stay in their state as per the, because these bank statements and the proof of funds, they require only for the purpose that you are able enough to live in that state or in Australia as per the current living cost. So this is how the proof of funds documentation works. So let's move to the next one. The next question is from Mark. Sir, my wife has completed certificate 4 in disability 8 months and how now doing diploma in nursing 1.5 years. After completion, she can claim Australia study 5 points in her UI, both CRI was Cricos registered. So Mark, to claim the Australian study requirement, 5 points of Australian study requirement, you need to fulfill the 92 weeks Cricos registered study requirement. So, if both of your degrees, number one is the certificate 4, and the second one is diploma. So, if in cumulation, your 2 degrees are completing the requirement of 92 weeks timeline or more than 16 months timeline, then you are good to go for Australian study requirement claim of 5 points. So that's how it works. Next one is from Karthik. This is that does lodging multiple UIs for different states having negative impact on the selection process itself. So as I mentioned earlier, that for New South Wales, for Western Australia, and for ACT, Australian Capital Territory, there is no issue in submitting separate expression of interest. But when we talk about Victoria, obviously they only allow one subclass, so you can only submit one EOI with either of the subclasses, or you can even submit one EOI with both subclasses for Victoria and select one EOI, one subclass for their ROI. Similarly, QLD and South Australia also don't allow multiple active EOIs in their system for different subclasses. So this is how it works. And when we are talking about the other two, Tasmania and NT, for Tasmania, Tasmania is only eligible for offshore applicants are only eligible for 491. Similarly, NT for only eligible for 491, but they also don't allow. You have to submit one expression of interest. Only NSW, Western Australia, and ACT. These three states you can submit multiple EYs. There is no negative impact in these three cases. So let's take up the next one, and it is from Ali Raza. People with engineering degrees but experienced in other fields have a chance to move to Australia. Yes, Ali, it's totally possible. It all depends upon your total number of work years experience. So, if, for example, if you're an engineer and you are working in a marketing profession or entirely different profession, now it's up to you that in which field you want to continue your PR pathway. So, it uh, for example, when we talk about the occupations which are skills assessed by VET assess, they allow the applicants to to prove their work experience and to apply for a nominated occupation based on the work experience, even with an irrelevant degree. So similarly, the ACS, the IT occupations are allowed with a relevant degree. So it but obviously then more number of years will be deducted, because as per the rule, the skills assessment authorities deduct the number of years as per the relevance of the field of study. So if you have an irrelevant field of study, your 3, 4, or initial 5 or even 6 years can be deducted in case of different skills assessment authorities. So it depends upon the case to case. I would suggest you to watch our video about the 9 important tips of skills assessment, which is available in the YouTube library. And also you can ask your question specifically as per your case in our group. So let's take up the next one, and this is from Aim. That can I get invite with this profile? Electrical engineering technician. I think I already covered your point that electrical engineering technician has a very good chance from Western Australia, Queensland, yes, NSW for Your points are 90 at 190, great chances. So good luck for that. I think I have, let's move to the next one. Next question is from GB that, hi, I am an ICT project manager with more than 5 years experience, and my wife is an ICT secondary teacher with 5 years experience. Who should be the main applicant as I want to apply for PR in Western Australia? So if your wife has the relevant field of study of secondary school teacher with 5 years experience, then your wife should be the primary applicant, because school teachers have better demand and high priority as compared to ICT project manager occupation. So if your wife can fulfill the skills assessment requirement of AITSL for secondary school teacher, which includes the at least bachelor's or master's degree having education, having a field of with a field of education, along with 45 days supervised teaching practice certificate and IELTS academic 8778 scores, then you can complete the AITSL skills assessment process and also get your 5 years assessed from AITSL and then submit expression of interest. If you have more than 75 points as secondary school teacher, that will be the highest chances of getting a PR in Western Australia, even in Western Australia for your case. You can also get your skills assessed and become a secondary applicant and contribute 5 points of your skills assessment. Uh, let's take up the next one, and it is from okay. So you are asking, I think Jatin Goyal, I have already responded your question of getting the grant of 491 visa. So all for everyone, let me reiterate that the chances of getting the grant for 491 and 190 and even 189 right now is 11 to 12 months. 491 might be getting uh, earlier in coming months. 190 will remain in 11 to 12 months, whereas 189 will again remain in 10 to 12 months. But they are now going to prioritize the regional visas processing. So 491 applicants will have a better chance of getting the grant earlier than 12 months. This is as per my opinion and our assessment. So let's take up the next one is from Samir, and the question is that my occupation list is 251512, experience is 12 years, 251512. So you are talking about, okay, industrial pharmacist. So 12 years, Canadian, 90 points offshore with state. I am eligible to submit my EOI for invitation, chances with proficient English. So, Samir, I think we have already covered that the industrial pharmacists, for industrial pharmacists, your points are good for 80 and 90 points for 190 and 491. But you need to submit an expression of interest for all the states in which your occupation is eligible. That you can check by visiting the website of each state, and there they have given the skilled occupation list, which we also called SOL, on their website, and you can see whether you are eligible for that state or not. If you are eligible, you can submit an expression of interest for that state. For NSW, Western Australia, and for ACT, you can submit the EOI separately for each subclass, whereas for Victoria, for QLD, and for South Australia, if you are eligible for these states as well, you can only submit one expression of interest. You can only have one active EOI in the system for your each of the subclass. Next question is from Ramim Rahman. The question is that after PY finishes in IT, which sectors can I apply for? My 5 finished masters in it in networking and studied engineering in computer science and bachelor. Should he apply through? Okay, so based on the PY, you can get your skill assessment done from ACS. Since this is a master's in networking, masters in it in networking, so you can go ahead with the computer network and systems engineer occupation. But based on the PY, you can apply. I'm not sure that which PY you are talking about. The general PY in IT. Based on the PY, you can apply for the ICT occupations, any occupations for sure. Computer network and system engineer seems more relevant, but you need to decide the occupation based on your work experience profile rather than based on the PY in IT. So if you have a PY in IT and a supporting bachelor's and master's degree, you should go ahead based on your work experience profile, whether you should go for computer network or systems engineer. It's a good occupation. You can go for ICT business analyst. It's again a good occupation. But if you can go for like a developer programmer or you can go ahead for ICT security specialist. These are also good occupations for ICT. Engineers Australia. I'm not sure whether she should apply through Engineers Australia. If your studies are okay, only I got your question now. I think you mentioned your question in three parts. So Ramim, the point is that if you should get your skills assessment done from ACS. ICT occupations have better chances than engineering occupations. So if you have an engineering in computer science, when we are talking about bachelor's, you should go for ACS based on PY, or even based on your masters or bachelor's. That's a better approach to follow. Let's take up the next question, and this is from Mubashir Salimi. The question is that I'm asking on behalf of my cousin. She is in 491 visa with her husband and 3 years old son in Australia, but her husband abused her and beat her. She wants to end her relationship. What options? She has to live in Australia. She is a secondary applicant. Um, since they are already there in their state, they have to well, there is an option of separation for sure in the state. She has to contact the state office for that and pursue the separation process. There must be for each state, and that's how she can pursue. But obviously, since she is a visa holder, she will remain a visa holder along with her 3 year son. That's not a issue, and it's it's not like that she is a secondary applicant, because she now the thing is that during the case she has to live and work in she has the living and working rights for sure, and she also has a study rights as a secondary applicant. So she has to continue her visa conditions for 491 in Australia, same as the primary applicant, to apply for 191 visa after completing 3 ATO assessments. So that's applicable to her as well. If she can do so, that's how the case will pursue. But to be on the safe side, she can pursue a separate case as well. But this is a consultation from the state office, that how the separation process can move, because I cannot comment on it based on the information you have provided, because it's like a very tricky situation. So it all depends upon the case, and as per the advice from the state, that how to pursue in such cases when the secondary applicant is his secondary applicant is like separating in that case. So I would recommend to contact the state office about the process. She should know the process, and only through that she should approach this situation. Let's take up the next one, and this is from Archana. So if my post-study work visa is expiring in March, can I start masters in May intake? In that case, can I get bridging visa for that duration easily? Okay, so Archana, as per the new migration strategy, they have clearly mentioned that they are discouraging the post-study work visa holders, or the TGV 485 visa holders, to go back to the study student visa as per their proposal. This is not legal yet, but obviously they are going to discourage. They are going to maybe you will be having difficulty in getting the student visa now. But if you want to pursue this approach, you should do it as quickly as possible. If your visa is expiring in March, you should. I'm not sure whether you will be able to get May intake for your masters. It's very difficult now, to be honest, because of the queue. If you have already applied for a May intake for your masters, then it's fine. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult for you, because they have already many people have applied for May or July intake. So try for July intake, and then you apply for the student visa. And if your student visa will be approved, then you will be getting the bridging visa during that duration between your 485 expiry and the student visa grant. Now let's talk about the next question, which is from Techies Hobbies. So if I have only pay slips and bank statements, is this enough for considering the experience for skill assessment by ACS? Yes. ACS will demand your employer's reference letter, your pay slips, your bank statements, and maybe you will be able to provide your offer letter, appointment letter, or any employment contract. Then you are good to go for the ACS skills assessment. So let's take up the next one. It's from Navateja Apuri, and I'm currently living in Melbourne. I have applied 190 Victoria 85, and 189 80 electrical engineer. Currently working in IT, do need to move to other states or regional. As an electrical engineer, if you are currently working in IT, which I'm not sure whether you are working in your core field of IT, electrical engineer or not, but obviously, electrical engineer itself is a good occupation, and you have 85 points for 190. So, good chances, but I believe that you can think about, if you want to move, then you can think about moving to NSW for with electrical engineer profile with 85 points for 190. Otherwise, Victoria is also a good choice because the top two states which have the highest number of allocations are NSW and Victoria. So if you can want to move, you can make a decision about moving to NSW. Otherwise, Victoria is good for you. Now let's take up the next question, which is from Saqib Khan. Now, Saqib is asking that what are the chances for mechanical engineers with age 30, education 10, English 10, single 10, experience 10, state 15, total 85 points. What are the chances for 491, and which regional area I can expect? I think I have already covered that for mechanical engineers. Queensland and NSW are very good choices. Victoria is also a good choice, but I will not recommend you to submit expression of interest for 491 for Victoria. You can submit an expression of interest for NSW 491, Western Australia 491, and QLT 491 with 85 points for fair chances for mechanical engineer. So let's take up the next one, and it is from Tex Hobbies. So, guys, I would suggest you to stay tuned till the end of this session. I will be stop taking the questions until the last 10 minutes, and I will be sharing some our analysis about the states preferences and states behaviors, that how they have based on their first half of the year, and also based on their predictions for the second half of the year and the next financial year in the last 10 minutes of this session. So stay tuned till the end, and it will be helpful for you. Let's take up the next one. It's from Techies Hobbies for SAP technical consulting experience, where I have also experience as Scrum Master and Manager, a software engineer. The role to apply for which states are the best for me? Since you have a very specific, and I believe it's a very good experience to have, I suggest you to try South Australia. They always recommend uh, high tech and digital focus areas. If you have got such experience of high tech and digital focus areas, then you should submit ROI for South Australia for their highly skilled and talented stream. To understand that how to submit that ROI, you can watch our video, which is already available on our YouTube channel in the library section. That how to submit the South Australia's ROI. It's good for you because you have got a very technical, very IT driven experience. Now let's take up the next question from Abul Barkat. Abul Barkat is asking that my spouse is a doctor and has basic health unit experience. Instead of AMC and all medical stuff, is MBBS degree from Pakistan with BHU experience okay for primary health organization manager? Primary health organization manager can be possible with this profile, but I would not recommend you to go for primary health organization manager. I would still recommend, if you have got a healthcare profile, you should pursue the healthcare main occupations, which can include the GP or which can include the other cases. But obviously, primary health organization manager is also a good occupation to have. But even if you have a degree from MBBS from Pakistan, there is no issue. There is no issue because the degree is equivalent, and you have to complete the skills assessment requirement for this occupation, and you are good to go. The next one is from Muhammad. The question is that it is a year waiting for Victoria 190 invite for teacher of English as secondary language. Yeah, 90 plus 5 points with superior English, working in a relevant occupation, wife is engineering technologist, any chance. So I know that TESOL is not in high priority or in high demand occupation. Your chances of getting Victoria 190 at 90 plus 5 points are obviously great because it's not directly a teaching, you can say the school teaching occupation, it's a language teaching occupation. That's why there is less traction in this case, but your profile is good. I would also suggest you that you can consider the case of submitting the engineering technologist based EOI based on your wife as primary applicant, and expand your case, expand your chances of getting the PR pathway through 190 if you want to pursue like that. Now let's take up the next one, and it is from and this is from the respect. So I am a single mother, divorced. My daughter, 6 years old, is with me. I have applied on VETSS as pharmacy technician. Do I get 10 points for partner as single? Chances for Victoria on 80 points for 199. So you will get the 10 points, but not as single, but yes, as separated. You will be selecting separated from in the EOI relevant section, and the chances of getting the invited at 80 points for 189 for pharmacy technician are fair. Pharmacy technician is a good occupation to have. So if you have 80 plus 5 points for Victoria 190, you have got good chances. But again, it depends whether if you are offshore, you should submit expression of interest in all the eligible states. But if you are onshore in Victoria, you should submit an expression of interest for Victoria 190 for your field. I hope you got the answer. Let's move to the next one. And this is from Hamza Siddiq. If you are on 491 NSW, if company is NSW, can you work from home while living regional? I think I have already covered this question that yes, you can work, but your documentation should be strong enough to prove that you are working from home and the company has contracted you in that way. Ghulam Mustafa is asking, EA didn't assess my overseas experience because I don't have EOBI and tax returns from employer, but I have bank statements, payslips, and reference letters. It is advisable to claim that experience in EOI. Um, well, if you have done your EA skill assessment together, like your qualification and employment assessment together through single application, now it can become a problem because you will be submitting this skills assessment outcome letter to the states at the time of nomination approval, and they will be seeing this document that how the assessment authority has assessed your experience. So if your experience is deducted or not assessed by Engineers Australia, now you cannot claim it because you haven't done it only on the basis of qualification. This because it can become a problem. I would suggest you to if since you the problem is that you were not able to fulfill the EA's skills assessment, EA's employment assessment requirement fully. So I would not suggest you to claim otherwise. So follow your skills assessment outcome letter from EA regarding your work experience claim. Else it can become a problem because your report of skills assessment is a single outcome letter mentioning your qualification and experience outcome. So let's take up the next one, and this is from Sayyid Zishan Heather, and the 85 points for SC 189, 90 points for 190, and 100 points for 491. Profession mechanical engineer, superior English, 5 points of work experience, and 10 partner. What are the chances? And Zishan, I believe that as a mechanical engineer, you have got great chances for 90 points at 90 points for 190. If you are offshore, you should definitely go for the Queensland EOI, NSW EOI, and Victoria EOI. These are the top states for you to get an invite. You can also go for a Canberra Matrix in ACT. I would suggest you to go for 190 of Victoria and 190 of Queensland. Similarly, you can submit an NSW 491 as well. I'm not sure about 189 because they are not considering the engineering occupations in as per their recent two invitation rounds. But you got great chance as far as I have understood the cases of mechanical engineers. So let's move to the next one, and this is from Ghulam Mustafa, that can we claim experience points working 24 hours a week related to occupation on student visa in Australia? No, it's clear no. Even if you are working a 20 more than 20 hours a week in Australia, but you were on student visa during that time, you cannot claim that time of your employment for the EOI purpose. It's a clear no because a student visa is not a full-time work rights visa. This is going to create a problem for you. So if it's a part-time thing, you can only work 48 hours a fortnight on student visa max, but you cannot claim this experience for EY purpose because this the purpose of this employment is not to have the full-time paid employment related to your nominated occupation. The purpose of this employment is to support yourself while you are on study visa. So let's take up the next one, which is from Hamza Siddiq. Do you see any issues if we submit the visa application for 191 and withdraw it later in case of getting another invite to 189-190 and going ahead? There is no issue at all if you withdraw your 491 visa application later if you get a 189 or 190 invite. The only issue is that you will not be getting any refund of your 491 visa application fee. But if you will withdraw your visa application, obviously there is no issue because you must have already got the final invitation to apply for another 190 or 189 visa, which you will be applying. Um, the next one is from Sakib Raja. This is that, hi sir, I am Sakib Ali. During submission of EOI in employment section, do we need to list full experience or only experience in last 10 years? In EOI, you need to submit only the experience of your past 10 years. The next question is that please advise best chances for mechanical engineers. I think I have covered enough about the mechanical engineers analysis. So good luck for those who are at more than 85 points for mechanical engineers for 190. Chances would be great. The next one is from Nisar Chaudhary. What are the criteria of a skilled program? What are the criteria of the skilled program? So this is what are the criteria for skilled program is about the okay. So I hear the states are only nominating application for superior English and skilled partner candidates. Is there any chance for 491 85 points and occupation electrical engineering? So Sakib, this about this question, stay tuned till the last 10 minutes of this live question and answer session where I will be covering that how states are actually behaving and preferring the candidates and how they are selecting the applicants and EOIs. We are seeing this behavior and it is important for you to understand that how they are doing it. So stay tuned till the end of the session because it is going to be a very very important analysis for you guys. Nasir is asking that Nisar is asking that what are the criteria for a skilled program? I am a chemical engineer having good reputed organization experience of more than 15 years and working in a team lead position. So Nisar, you should go ahead with either a chemical engineer occupation skill assessment, or you can also think about engineering manager skill assessment from Engineers Australia or IML. And with more than 15 years of experience, and if you are a team leader, if have a managerial role, then you can go for engineering manager occupation skills assessment. And once your skills assessment is done, your case of getting a skilled program visa, which we also call PR pathway 190, 489, 491, or 189 becomes great. Let's take up the question from Rohit, and this is about that I have submitted EOI for 190 on 70 points and 491 for 80 points for retail pharmacist. I think I have covered the retail pharmacist occupation analysis that you need to have more than 80 points for 189 and more than 85 points for 190 to have any better chances for retail or hospital pharmacist and even industrial pharmacist and even pharmacy technician. Let's take up the next one is from Gisup. While submitting visa application, is employment contract compulsory or will reference letter from employer work? Working with the same employer from beginning. Well, employment contract is a good document to have. If you do not have employment contract, you can submit an offer letter which you might have approved initially while starting your job, or you can also submit the appointment letter scan. But if you do not have, the reference letter is for sure mandatory. But if you can submit additional documentation with respect to your employment, including employment contract, then it's a good to have. Let's take up the next one is from Irfan. Is police certificate only required for the last 10 years or since birth? PCC is required for the last 10 years from all the countries where you have stayed for more than 12 months in total in the last 10 years. The next one is from Hozab Nadir, and this is for the 491 motor mechanic. Any chances in upcoming rounds? Motor mechanics for Western Australia, 90 points. And living in Victoria, I think you should submit 190 for Victoria, and Western Australia, 491. Western Australia, 90 points, 491. Fair chances for motor mechanic. Yes, fair chances for motor mechanic for 90 points for 491 Western Australia. For engineering technologists to get invited for 491, I would believe that 95 points are good to have. And for university lecturer, Umar, the answer would be that 70 points, a university lecturer, it's difficult to get invite at 70 points. You should have 80 points for 189 for university lecturer to have any solid chance. I would be quickly skimming through all the rest of the questions. As I mentioned earlier, that for most of the occupations, like for example, civil engineers, for pharmacist occupations, I have already covered my analysis. For civil engineers, you will have good chances above 85 points for 190 for pharmacy technique. So in short, if you have more than 85 points for 190 for a non-priority occupation, you should be hopeful. Less than 85 points for 190, you should work on improving your points. And I would take one last question about the agricultural consultant, because we haven't discussed about this occupation. So agricultural consultant is again a good occupation in Australia with respect to this field of work. But in the recent 6 months, for the first half of the year, we haven't seen any invitation trend of this whole occupation group of our agriculture. The reason is being that mainly because they are having a very limited allocations quota, and they are inviting only the highest priority ones. Agricultural consultants can have a preference from NSW for their 491 because of their regional requirement, but I am not sure about any other state. Let's see how the 189 invitation round happens in the next 4 to 8 weeks to see the trend that how the federal government is thinking about. When we talk about the mechanical engineer versus industrial engineer, I believe both are neck to neck, but mechanical engineer has a slight advantage. But as per the recent invitation rounds, engineering technologists have a slight advantage as compared to mechanical engineers or industrial engineers. Similarly, electrical engineers and civil engineers have always been the top two occupations of the engineering sector. So, with that note, I would like to conclude the question and answer part, and now I would be covering. I would be sharing the important information about the state's preference, about which I was mentioning earlier. So the thing is that we have seen the first half of the financial year 2023-2024, and right now we are in the second half of the financial year 24. I believe that since the allocations quota was reduced at the start of this financial year by federal government for states, they have been struggling to fulfill their industrial demand. They have been struggling to fulfill their regional field of work field demand. So what states have done that during this period, they have tried to invited as much of the applicants as possible, but at the same time, what they did is that they preferred certain sectors over another. We have a clear indication from federal government that through their ministerial direction that they are prioritizing the healthcare and education sectors while processing the visa applications, and then the other sectors, and even the employer visas are getting granted for these sector wise priorities. Now let's come back to the states analysis. So what we have seen in the first half of the year, and we have been sharing different posts, different information, different news articles in our group about the states preferences and the communication that is happening between state and the central government of the Australia. And also the central government of Australia is coming up with a new migration strategy during this year, calendar year 2024. Now, how states are operating is that they have their own criteria. You need to understand one thing is that out of 189, 190, and 491, 189 is a points test system in which the higher the points, total points I'm talking about, the chances of getting invite automatically increase. Whereas when we talk about the states do not necessarily are legally bound to follow the points test criteria. They have their own preferences. For example, one state like NSW can prefer a candidate which has 15 points, 15 EOI points of work experience as compared to a candidate which has 5 work experience points, but the total EOI points of the second candidate is higher. This is totally possible because the states are having their own criteria of selecting the candidates. Similarly, we have seen that the Victoria is behaving in a way that they are prioritizing the applicants where both primary and secondary adult applicants are skilled. Both are useful for the state. They are thinking in another way because whenever one EOI is selected, most probably if this EOI is a case of a married status, then this EOI means more than one visa. So what Victoria wants is that Victoria is looking for a family which can contribute to their state's economy. So they are looking for the EOIs having highest English language points, that is superior level, from the primary applicant along with a skilled partner. This is evident from their last rounds which they have conducted in the first half of the year. It's not like a legal requirement, it's not like a compulsion, but this is how they are preferring the applicants of non-priority occupations. With when we talk about the priority occupations, so Victoria is like okay to go, and they are selecting the applicants, selecting the EOIs where the partner is contributing just 5 points. So that's not a problem. Similarly, when we talk about the NSW, they are prioritizing the applicants based on English language points for sure, but their most core focus is towards the work experience points. So what I want to share with you guys is a good understanding. This is a very, very important information for engineers over there. Whenever you are going for relevant skilled employment assessment from Engineers Australia, try to get maximum of your employment assessed from Engineers Australia. Try to gather as much of the supporting documentation as per their guidelines, so that you can get the maximum and the full tenure of your employment to prove or to claim in your EOI. This is important because what happens is that since you are claiming your work experience points, if you fall short of a few months, then your point slab can change from one slab to another. So for the cases of NSW, for the cases of Victoria, where the states are actually behaving in a way that they are prioritizing certain applicants, certain profiles, you should focus towards following that guidelines. This is important for you to get invited. I have seen the applicants, I have seen the EOIs which are not getting invited even at the points higher than the invitation round stats, only because their work experience points or the English language points or skilled partner points are not enough. These three parameters have become important in this financial year, and only because the states have the liberty and freedom to to select the candidates based on their own preferences. This is not a strict points test system. Similarly, when we talk about Queensland, they do not conduct like proper big rounds. They are conducting like smaller rounds, and they are selecting their priority occupations based on the total points. So if you have like 85 points or more, you can get an invitation from Queensland based on your profile. Similarly, when we talk about the ACT, they have a very strict rules that your occupation skill assessment should have been positively assessed with respect to the work experience as well. So these are the important things for you to understand. Whenever we talk about the Western Australia, they are prioritizing building and construction industry because for their state, it's a whole region. The building and construction people are important right now, and they are in demand because they are struggling with their construction industry with respect to housing industry, with respect to the building and construction and industrial construction industry. So focus on that. So if you are planning to pursue future higher education with respect to either a master's program, if you are a bachelor, you should go for a master's program. I would suggest you should first try to stick to your field. If not, then you should either go for like um, a technologist or a civil engineering design or a construction industry focus. Otherwise, if you are going for, but obviously you should know that from the state from where you are planning to study, from the university where you are planning to study, that university is also important. That for the state, you should know that what are the target sectors and select a course from that target sector. So this is another analysis for the students, And one analysis for the people who are submitting an expression of interest, as I mentioned earlier, that you should now keep on focusing towards securing 20 points in English language score and 10 points in partner skills if you are married, and prove your work experience through your documentation, through the skills assessing authorities as much as you can, because these are going to stay as unsaid agenda, unsaid guidelines for next half of the year. Regarding the next financial year, I will quickly give you a quick glimpse that for the next financial year, it's going to remain the same. When we are talking about the planning levels, they might keep it same or they might be reducing a bit, but the focus will remain the same. The state's focus will remain the same, that they are going to invite only the candidates because of their limited allocations quota, people who are having work experience, people or couple or family who is good enough for that state to contribute in their economy. When we talk about the 189, so 189, they might be having two more rounds, but obviously in the federal government, they have a big pool, big queue there in the 189. So all of them are waiting for an invite. So 189 will be getting an invite for healthcare and teaching occupations, and I am sure and ICT and engineering occupations will also be included in the future 2 or 3 invitation rounds of this financial year. But the next year will be a better year for the Australian immigration process. This is my analysis. This is our assessment based on our experience, based on the recent invitation rounds, and based on the behavior of the states and federal government and all the new migration strategy and the changes happening. With that note, I would like to thank you everyone for attending today's live question and answer session on behalf of Australia Immigration Matters team. We will be conducting this live session every month for you guys to have a real time experience and a real time question and answer experience, so that our communication and our understanding and our updates can be shared. With that note, thank you very much, everyone, and stay tuned for more updates. We will be looking forward to your feedback in our group. Thank you and take care.